Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 65. Laura Bates' top 5 or more most hateful Manosphere secrets. Tier list next. I could explain. I think the people in our chat know what that means, but
I don't. So
yeah,
please explain what
you're an internet. I don't know. You're like in some isolated bubble. So a tier list is when a fan of a particular thing, whether it's a game or a show or whatever with characters, they like rank the characters. And there's like God tier, S tier, A tier, B tier, all the way down. Right?
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, tier list.
I just made the connection.
Okay. So the tier list of the Manosphere is what I'm hoping to get from Laura Bates. I want to know where the men's rights activists fall. Like if it's like at the bottom with the incels, or if there is no tier list because we're all like F tier or whatever the bottom tier is.
We're all special snowflakes.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that
K tier.
Yeah, but how about not appearing on this tier? Since I don't think men's rights activists are part of the Manosphere. At least the Manosphere people or men are always like, yeah, no, not those dudes. They're dweebs.
Yeah, except that Laura Bates doesn't care. So
no, of course not.
She doesn't care. We're all the same to her.
You know, I recently had a Shoe on Head respond to one of our tweets on the account, which is at Honey Badger Bite, if you're interested in following that. And she asked me, well, what do you think of the fact that the Manosphere, which we weren't really part of, but whatever, which used to be defined by the issues that people like you talk about, men's issues, like lack of protection for domestic violence and rape and custody issues and all of that good chunky stuff. What do you think of the fact that Manosphere used to be defined by that, more by that, and is now more defined by Andrew Tate? And it's like,
well, what did you say? Because it sounds like what Shu is asking you to do is essentially like, join us in dogpiling these men.
I honestly do not care enough about Andrew Tate's message to defend him or condemn him, because I haven't really looked at it enough. I don't think that she necessarily meant it that way. I think what she meant was that we were ostracized and we were talking about men's issues, legitimate statistical men's issues. Like these things are. This is a base bedrock reality that we talk about. The stuff that nobody wants to talk about. And originally that this was men's issue. Like this was associated with the red pill, let's say, instead of the Manosphere. And I think the implication, at least the implication that I took, was that feminists ignored and stigmatized us and calls us exactly the same names as they call Andrew Tate. I mean, literally, we're just a bunch of academics, psychologists, and in our case, artists who just care about the issues that men face. That's it. And that's it. There's no sinisterness to it. There's no secret cabal of nothing. No.
Well, except that it does involve us having to fight and confront feminism because it's the predominant narrative. So you can't advocate for men with that in the way. So
yeah, it's impossible because feminism is essentially the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Some other that field somebody else's problem. So that if you're doing something nefarious, you just put up the somebody else's problem field and then people just walk past and ignore it. Feminism is somebody else's problem field for men's issues. Yeah. Like as soon as the feminists get in on this, suddenly everything needs to refocus back on women because men are doing it to themselves. You can't get anything done under that narrative for men, period. Because it's an excuse why we do not have to care. Like it's men's problem. So it's not our problem, it's men's problem. Yeah. It's the men's problem field. And then the other thing is that feminism itself is a conjecture about men's nature that is, I think, provably false. The idea that men would construct a society for the benefit of other men at the expense of women. Never been proven. In fact, it's been multiply disproven. It has no predictive value. As a scientific concept, it isn't. Like, it literally isn't.
No.
It doesn't even have a replicatability problem because it's never been proven true in the first place.
Right.
There's never been an experiment that has shown that feminist conjecture proves or predicts a phenomenon. So it has no scientific validity. Again, I'm really butthurt about the fact that there are people out there who will consider feminist conjecture to be somehow scientifically valid, but then we'll go, ho, 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 telepathy. I'm sorry, telepathy has more validity than feminist conjecture in terms of science. But regardless, so you have this situation where men are being subjected to this libel about their nature based on something that is not proven, has been disproven multiple times. And that itself is harmful to men's sense of self-worth. Like if you think that your actions in the world are to harm women or to harm others, that's really a very difficult, like it's a psychologically difficult thing to deal with. Right? And it's one of the things, one of the components that men who are suicidal, that idea of being a burden or a harm to others is a huge component of why men justify killing themselves. So the fact that feminism perpetuates this is like, it's in and of itself is a harm done to men. So yes, it's no way of getting around it. Like you can, as much as you want, agree to the feminist conjecture of equality, which.
Yeah. Hello, Allison. Oh shit, my Discord shut down, guys. Hold on. Allison will be right. My Discord just closed on itself. This is such a shitty app sometimes. Hold on. It's gonna come up in a second. Jojo is he's sleeping, so hold on. Hello? We back?
Yeah, we back. What happened?
My Discord just closed. It just was like, no, not doing it.
No,
I'm just gonna close now, and then it restarted. I don't know why. So
So anyway, the end result is that yes, we have to go after feminism.
Yeah,
and not not the what is it, the Bailey, which is we're just about equality, guys.
Yeah. No, you have to go after the Mott. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, I'm back on Twitter. I just want to say I'm back on Twitter. So my account was not reinstated. I'm still working on getting my original account back, but I made another account specifically to promote my gaming channel, Honey Badger Arcade. I usually try to do like 1 or 2 game streams a week. And I talk about like men's issues while I'm gaming, and I'll try to like bring it into the content that I'm doing. So if you guys want to hang out on Honey Badger Arcade, go to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I still need to get Allison to add me to the Discord bot so that it comes up when I go live. But yeah, and I'm also I opened a Twitter account for that very thing, and the Twitter account is @BadgerArcade. So if you add me there, that'd be great, because I'm going to start fights on Twitter. I'm probably going to get banned again, is what I'm saying. Yeah, because I'm telling you, because like, I get so, I used to do it on Twitter a lot, but then I was kicked off of Twitter a few years ago for insulting commies and calling them what they are. And they got me banned because at the time it was run by them, despite the fact they're underdogs and don't have any power. And then Elon Musk took over, and I've been putting in requests, but I guess my Twitter's not that big, but I still have a lot of fun there. So I made a new Twitter just for that, but when I get my old one back, I'll probably just be active on both. But my new one is @Badger Arcade. Go and follow me, and I'll follow you back, promise. And hopefully, see you there, because I'm going to fight with Shu, because the thing is, okay, let me just be clear. I like June. She seems like a nice person, but I think that she takes this a little too lax sometimes. Like, she doesn't take this very seriously. So when I hear her say to you, what do you guys think about this thing that's happening completely organically, not in your control? It's the suggestion that you should do something, or something, do you feel like you should do something? Are you mad? Do you want to vent? Whatever. And I don't have any feeling on it at all whatsoever. Because you know what? If we're shitting on men, they're going to find somebody to go to. They're going to come to us, or they're going to go to people like Tate, or they're going to go to people like Peterson, or whatever. And I hope that they're going to go wherever that somebody will take them. But I'm hoping, I can only hope that they're going to find help there. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to attack them or attack that group because, maybe they're saying shit that you don't like. Because, Shu, what are you doing for these guys? What are you doing for these guys? That's what I say. Like, something? No? Nothing? Okay. And then, like, her take on the Barbie movie is like, this is like a Rorschach test. I have 1,000,000 IQ. I know exactly what this is messing with everybody. Look at that. Both sides. No, bitch. No. People's relationships are crumbling because of this shit. And you just want to sit there and go, well, good thing I'm super intelligent because I might have to get involved in this conversation that's way, way outside of these mortals, you know, like, she's just like the galaxy brain meme when it comes to that. It's so frustrating. It's like, well, okay then, you're super smart, great, but you know what? Normie women are walking away with the actual message that's on the surface, which is probably the actual message. So maybe you should just stop patting yourself on the back for your massive brain and just look at reality and what's actually happening. Because normal people look at this shit and they're not you. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can understand her perspective too. Because honestly, when I walk through the logic of that movie, it is actually anti-female suffrage. And it's really surprising that so many women are loving it. Because it is possibly the strongest argument against women having the vote, period.
It would be if people
I know the surface message.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that everybody's supplying a particular framework, which, you follow the analogy that Ken is a disenfranchised woman up to the point where he just becomes a man again. And then you abandon that analogy, and it just becomes a confusing mess. And I can actually sort of agree with her perspective on it being like a Rorschach kind of thing going on. And I also agree with your perspective that, normie women and men are going to take away probably the surface level understanding.
The overwhelming majority.
On the other hand, like, they were always going to do that. Like, so it's not really like much has necessarily changed. But I wanted to get back to what I eventually said to her, because it's interesting in my opinion, because I said it. I am the only galaxy brain. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. What I said to her was that, I sort of predicted that Andrew Tate would rise out of feminist scholarship. Like, you read this stuff and feminists left one single vaguely pro-social way of being a man, and that is Playboy. Okay? Mm-hmm. What a surprise that this has been, and Andrew Tate isn't the first one. He's one in a series. I think it was Tucker something or other. Not Tucker Carlson, but another Tucker. And then there was a Rollo maybe. There have been these progression like this.
Yeah, sure.
This line of Playboys. And I'm like, well, they're just an expression of the last vaguely pro-social way that men can differentiate themselves from women, left to them by feminism. It's not really like Andrew Tate isn't groundbreaking. He isn't. No, he's not even more extreme than the other guys that came before. It's just that he's the new guy. He's the new guy. Yeah. He's not really groundbreaking.
No.
He's not even really. He's in his. Feminism gave men a lane. Andrew Tate is in it. And then they're complaining about that because I guess they don't want men to have any space at all.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what they want. They want men to not have any space at all. So I pointed that out. I said I predicted this. And, the next thing's going to be worse because when you give men no space to be within their society, justifiably, they're just going to walk away and find something else. And it's not even going to be an issue where they're particularly violent. They don't have to be. They just have to walk away and, just let the train derailments happen and the chemical plant explosions and the loss of knowledge from generation to generation among these blue-collar jobs that are absolutely critical. We shouldn't even call them blue-collar. We should be calling them something like something really profound, like foundation jobs, because that's what they are. They are the foundation jobs. They are what keeps our society running. And, they just have to walk away from all of that and we're screwed, and no violence required, just a quiet quitting by men from this society. And so I pointed that out. And that was my opinion. So I don't know what she was. Maybe she had some secret ultimate ulterior motive.
I don't know either. But you're basically saying kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying we left men with no other options. We demonize every other way that they could try to get involved with society. And when they go to the one guy that says, "Come over here, I'll help you out," it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Tate, like you said. It could be Peterson because they treat Peterson the same. Like I know that they're nothing alike.
And they treat Warren Farrell the same.
They treat Warren Farrell the same, so it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Like some people think Tate is a reactionary. He's literally just doing what he do. It's not reactionary. He's just doing, and other guys are like, that works for him, I'm going to try that too. What do you have to say? And he's telling them what he does. He's telling them what his approach is, and men are following it. How can you blame them? Like, I mean, I can't, because there's nobody else. I mean,
well, how can you blame them? Because they're doing what feminism says is masculinity now.
Yeah. Yeah,
like this is the frustrating thing. It's like literally feminism whittled down. Like Warren Farrell represents a far more broad masculinity, like a masculinity that's about I don't know, relationships, family. It's about advocacy. Jordan Peterson represents a masculinity that's about taking responsibility. It's about lifting the biggest weight you can. It's about all these. So
enduring the suffering is part of it.
Yeah, it's like you got these men who are evincing, and also Warren Farrell's masculinity is also about vulnerability. So they have a wide understanding of positive masculinity.
Yeah,
but bit by bit, they're pushed out of the discourse, and feminists are like, no, you can't have those, because then you're saying that these positive qualities women don't have more of, basically. You can't say that masculinity has positive qualities, because that excludes women. So they push it out, and then you're left with one definition, feminist definition of how men can be vaguely pro-social, even if only 1% of men identify with it, and that is Playboy. And then suddenly you see all these men presenting this to other men as like being an icon of masculinity, because they're literally following feminism. They're literally in the space that, like, feminism's like, okay, man, you can't have that parking spot. You can't have the west parking. You can't have the east parking. You can't have the south parking. You can't have the north parking. You can have this parking spot 6 miles away from the front gate. And it can only accommodate one of those tiny half cars. That's your space, man. And then Andrew Tate pops up in that space, and the other guys are like coming over to him, and feminism has an absolute shit fit, because apparently, even though feminism has said to men, oh, you can't park in the north, you can't park in south, east, west, no, you have this one small parking spot 6 miles from anywhere that matters, and that's where you go, men. And they went there, and then feminism throws a fucking shit fit, because men followed what they said.
Yeah, but there is another thing too, though. So before Tate was big in the Manosphere, there was a guy named Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace. He passed away. And he wasn't as, let's say, he wasn't as gregarious as Tate was. I think that and there's lots of other men talking about stuff in the Manosphere space, whether they are on the Peterson side or the Farrell side or the Tate side. But I think that the reason why Tate's name is so well known is because the media made him the face of men's issues, or the Manosphere, whatever. Exactly. And they chose him because that's a guy that you can easily paint a picture. They're not even really like, Candace Owens, I didn't watch it, but my wife, Lindsay, she watched this. Candace Owens did a deep dive into like all the allegations against Andrew Tate, and she apparently isn't finding anything like really, solid that they could like pin on him. And I think though, again, he fits their stereotype of misogynist man. That's why the BBC interviewer said, "Oh, you smoke cigars with a Bugatti with a side order of misogyny," because she's putting together a picture. It's not a person. She's not like getting to who that is. And to some degree, Tate kind of feeds into it, because I've seen some interviews, and sometimes it like he's just too cringe for me. Like it's just too too gregarious, too boastful, and it's like tone it down, dude. Tone it down. But
too stereotypical. Perhaps,
yeah, he's like fitting the bill, right? And so I don't think guys like Peterson, Kevin Samuels was direct, but like he was classy, and women listen to him and stuff. And there's probably lots of other guys, but
they select their clown.
Yeah, they select the person and they say, this is the Manosphere. That's what they do. That's what they do every time. So this is why I don't even really think that, I think that to even talk about Tate or whoever else they decide to put there in that like whole, that spot, it's a distraction because they're doing that so that people will end up having to purity test each other to push this guy out. Oh, you don't represent us. I'm going to make a video about this, you know, instead of focusing on the enemy, which is the feminists.
Okay, all right.
Like, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to actually defend Shu because I remember the context of why this happened and why I actually responded.
Okay.
She was saying, okay, liberals, you express absolute hatred towards men. You marginalize them, and then you get like you say things that destroy men's, you know, sense of self-worth. I'm paraphrasing. And then you act surprised when they go after men like Andrew Tate. So she was saying this in the context of pointing fingers at the general man hatred in the liberal or progressive spheres.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yes, but I think it's obvious too. I mean, yes.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I think I don't know.
I get it.
I know that she's got the mass-centrism going on. And that's you know, that's but I don't think that she's like okay, let me just put it this way. I appreciated the sentiment that she had originally, which is why I responded. So, and I clarified my position. I honestly I agree. Like, it is really annoying to me that we can't have, and this is something that she I think well, she said that's pick me talk, but I think she was doing it sarcastically. I said, we can't have a discussion about men's, like, just sit down and have an adult discussion about men's needs and their issues. Okay? That's what needs to happen. And we can't do. She said, oh, that's pick me talk. And I think that was being sarcastic because I'm pretty sure she's called a pick me all the time.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been on Twitter/X lately, but I just
things
got
have changed, Brian.
Well, I know.
Maybe not the same fights as you remember.
I'm not going to be as nice as you. I think I'm going to, like, be very direct with people like Shu and Lauren Southern because
that's okay. You can be as direct as you want with Lauren
They are getting
Southern.
on my last fucking nerve, and I have to call them out. I'm just calling them out. I'm not saying, you know, not trying to cancel them. I don't hate them. I hope they figure it out. I mean, like, you know, I gave Shia LaBeouf some space. I didn't bother him, and now he's completely flipped, you know, on his views, because I know sometimes people just gotta go on their own journey at their own pace. And so I'm not gonna sweat it, but if people like Shu or Lauren try to do this centrist shit, I'm gonna get in there and say this is bullshit, because we are dealing with truly evil people, people, and we have to. We can criticize the spineless and the ignorant whenever, but I'm looking at the evil people, the people who are destroying the society with their bullshit lies, and they have to know that they're lying. They have to, because I don't think I'm a genius. I've been doing this for 10 years. I know what's going on. They have to know what's going on. They must know. So this is intentional. Laura Bates, absolute demonic woman. Just gonna put it out there.
God damn, like, if it was a man who disguised himself as an underage girl to find out their sexual secrets, nobody would give him a damn pass, and yet Laura Bates gets that pass, and I'm glad we're back on topic.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back, but I do have
a
logic to it. So let me, first of all, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see this. So,
oh boy, I get to see Laura Bates.
Yeah, you got to see it.
We get to listen to her breathless erotica delivery of everything she does.
Laura Bates was on a podcast called Pod Save America, and I had never heard of it, but it sounds cringe. And she's being interviewed by this guy about her book, Men Who Hate Women, I think it's called. So,
this conversation about the Manosphere was not actually that off topic, because we're about to dive into Lauren Bates' opinion of everything that we just talked about.
Yeah, because this guy is coming at this like, I don't know what the Manosphere is. I've never heard this before. Could you tell me about it? You seem like an expert that's completely unbiased. Please explain.
Before we get into it, this whatever this is, somebody make note in the comments that this is where the topic starts. Just give them, and then we'll pin that comment. Okay, guys? All right. So if you want to send us a message at any point throughout the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. It is the best way to contact us, to send us a message, give us the full benefit of your support, as well as the full, having more space to let your thoughts breathe. And up to 2,000 characters, and you don't have to run the gauntlet of YouTube shenanigans when it comes to whatever new censorship rules they're putting in. So anyway, it's feedthebadger.com/justthetip, and that's the best way to get us the funds. I think actually the fact that we send people off YouTube might be, they don't like that, but I don't care. I don't care.
Well, I mean, we don't have any options. I mean,
well, they want you to send super chats. I mean, YouTube wants you to stay on this platform and send super chats. We want you to go to feedthebadger.com/support so that you make a more solid connection to us, because God knows YouTube will just unsubscribe you at a moment's notice for no apparent reason. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip for whatever. Tell us that you're enjoying this content. Prove to us we're not screaming into the void, you know. Make us feel good about doing this stuff, because this stuff does not make us feel good.
And also shout out to Rumble Gang. So if you're not on Rumble, go to Rumble and follow us there. Maybe we can make Rumble the primary platform. That is HB Radio at Rumble, or just go to Rumble and search HB Radio. I did get a Rumble rant from Oikenwo. I can never pronounce that. Oisenwowi, I guess, gives us $1 and says, I use YouTube notifications to come to Rumble. Thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So that's all that I got so far. So I guess we can start this video. So here we go.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about the segment entitled Online Extremism.
And trying to locate the top 5 most turgid bits of crap.
Yeah.
In this, which is, I know it's a bit of a misnomer. We will go through 5 points. However, finding the top 5 is sort of like finding the top 5 chunks.
It's literally
in a shit stream.
Yeah, it's literally a stream of absolute shit. And not unfamiliar shit either. Like it's shit that you've smelled before. So, all right, let's
here's number 1.
Yeah, let's
chronologically.
We've talked a lot on the show about how the internet has helped fuel racism, anti-Semitism, authoritarianism, offline violence. One common thread among the people who get caught up in this online extremism is that they tend to be men. All
right, I'm just pausing it there. I don't think that's true, but of course he's going to start with that. How do you even measure that?
Well, also, are they saying that patriarchy is getting worse? I guess it's always getting worse. No matter how much feminism does, patriarchy is always
we still have patriarchy. We're just really good at hiding it. I believe that's the line, right? That in that totally based movie. All right.
Yeah.
So apparently it's just men. Apparently, or maybe. Well, I have a different theory about that, but let's go.
Well, but here's a question. I would consider feminism to be extremism. Again, it's something that has never been proven, and it's a condemnation of a group of people based on their biological sex. Now, Laura Bates tries to square that circle by somehow blaming men's identities. So identifying as a man rather than being a man is the problem. But it's like, that's a pretty extreme view. The idea that half the human race is why there's sin in the world is ugly.
Yeah. It is. It's hateful just from its root.
Yeah, I was just talking to a feminist on Twitter, and I basically said that I don't believe that men have ever oppressed women, period. And she goes on and on about, but the Muslims. I'm like, well, that's Islamophobic. Like, I'm sorry, I don't even think Muslim men hate women.
No.
Or oppress them. Like, again, they bring up Afghanistan. I'm like, if Afghani women became Afghani men tomorrow, they'd be dying 6 times the rate. So shut up about that. Yeah, I know there's lots of restrictions and they also put their women in very visible markers that they are women. Do you think that might be part of the reason why women survive 6 times more often? You know, like this is, and they don't put the context in. But anyway, they insist that we live in a society. So I talked to this woman and I'm like, okay, so do you believe that your husband and your son would be beating and raping you every day? Because she said, without feminism in the Middle East, that was just sans feminists, women are beaten and raped every day by their, like every single man. I don't know. And I said, so you think that without feminism, your husband and your son would be beating and raping you every day?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
And she
yeah.
can't, she has no answer to that, but it's the logical conclusion. You think that it's feminism that's stopping the men in your life from being monsters, right? Well, first of all, feminism has never been proven. And second of all, what the hell has feminism ever done except ask the male-dominated society to fix things that they say that feminists say harm women, and then the men fix them. So what is it, this magical elixir that feminism is applying to make men care about women? The answer is it doesn't apply any magical elixir. It simply relies on what it says doesn't exist. So you are telling, like, this woman is believing somehow. Of course, she offloads it onto the system. It's not the individual, and this is how you know it's utter bullshit, because she has to offload guilt. It's not individual men who are responsible for oppressing women. It's the system, because, you know, the system has hands and will and choices. No, that's bullshit. You are blaming individual men for oppressing, quote unquote, oppressing women. You are saying your husband and your son would oppress you, would turn into some kind of goddamn werewolf without feminism. And you don't want to take responsibility for saying that, so you offload it onto some bullshit called the system. No. You mean men. And that's what you... Can you imagine living with a person who thinks that some weird, fucked up cultish belief is the only reason why you're not, you know, raping their eye socket and eating their liver? Like, Jesus Christ, it's dehumanizing.
Yeah.
And that is like the baseline that our society starts with. We start and we believe dehumanizing things about men. Dehumanizing, criminalizing things about men. And then the people like this turn around and say, oh, well, why are men in such an extreme... Because you think that any man who stops and says, hey, wait, that's not very fair. I mean, I don't think it's this unproven conjecture is the reason why I don't care about women. I think men actually do just care about... You jump down his throat and call him a misogynist. So men must agree to their own debasement to even be considered a valid human being. Okay?
Yeah.
That is the status quo right now in our society. And you have the gall and the audacity to turn around and point to something online as extremism? You're already extreme. You're a pair of extremists. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna.
But it's
continue
just extremism that is socially acceptable, like it always is.
Yeah.
Every single society that engaged in some horrific act of disenfranchisement thought that it was justified. Just like you two do. If you were in antebellum South, you would be talking with a little chuckle about the peculiar institution. You know?
Mm-hmm.
If you were in Nazi Germany, you'd be like, yeah, the Jews are actually criminals. You know, so they sort of deserve it. Because they hate Germany. They're extremists. Yeah, that's the thing, you know, like Nazi Germany. Well, what did they say about the Jews? That they were extremists.
Mm-hmm.
That they hated Germany, and that they were rapists and pedophiles. Okay,
Yep.
They painted them as an extremist before they engaged in extremist acts against them. That's what it always starts with this narrative. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
Have
you've
we even
done
got to the point?
extensive research
Well, no, but anyway, let's keep going.
and reporting
sorry,
to show
guys.
that not only is this not an accident, it's increasingly the result of an extreme misogynistic ideology that's all about
just coming from
oppressing
nowhere.
women and encouraging. And
Oh, it's just coming
glorifying
from
violence.
nowhere.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. Who knows why men are doing this or whatever? I don't think they are, but yeah, I mean, some men are angry and frustrated with their lives, and they go online to vent about it. That means they hate women, and they're just not manning up enough. But we don't want them to man up. Talk about your feelings, but don't complain.
And they'll never talk about the extremist violence in the radfem community.
No,
It's just horrifying.
yeah,
Like the shit that they say. No, that's then, and the fact that they are socially acceptable, that some of them have tenure, for God's sake, while spewing their vicious crap. No, we're not going to talk about that at all. And what he means by extremism, because again, If a man simply says, no, I don't think that men have ever oppressed women, I don't think that's a proven concept, which it isn't. Like it's 100%. This is a factual statement. Feminist conjecture that men construct society for their own benefit at the expense of women is not proven and has been multiply disproven. Okay? It is has no scientific validity. That is a factual statement. If a man gets up and says that, he is oppressing women. Facts. Saying facts express women.
Yeah, it's the original struggle session.
Oh, really? What is a woman?
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm not a woman.
Talk about
Today.
what led you down this particular rabbit hole.
Sure. So I was aware of these communities and this particular form of extremism from really the beginning of my work in the feminist space, because if you are a woman with a profile, particularly if you're a woman with a, feminist profile working.
Yeah, people are going to push back against you.
No, they're disagreeing with me. That means they're literally raping and beating me near death because they disagree or trolled me.
Well, at least she's sort of pulled back on the breathless delivery.
Maybe some teenage boy was like, get back in the kitchen, and she's like, oh my god, this is why we need ultra authoritarian laws all over the internet so that nobody tells me where to get into. Yeah, because it comes down to, what does she want at the end of the day? Okay, she wants to basically be able to throw men in jail, ban men from the internet, ban them from social media, and basically exclude them in every possible space. The thing is that she doesn't care. There's no other solution. She doesn't want to listen to them. She doesn't think their problems are real. She doesn't think that that men hanging out with each other in a private space is safe. She thinks that they're plotting something like a terrorist attack. I mean, she doesn't I don't see where this ends up.
Yeah, but how is she going to be able to disguise herself as a barely pubescent boy and go find out about what they talk about sexually? Like, if there are no online spaces for young men for that kind of thing. All right, I just want to. Okay, lady, feminists are some of the most abusive creatures. Like, I didn't even see arguments. They just come at you with insults. At this point, they basically say, go to Afghanistan and call you a pick-me. Like, are you going to just ignore how abusive feminists are online? Specifically feminists. Because these insults wouldn't exist. Handmaiden wouldn't exist without cool girl, pick-me wouldn't exist without feminists perpetuating this crap. All right? They have more words for women that disagree with them than they have... than they recognize any kind of thing that women can do to make their life better. Okay. That was really strained. I apologize. But anyway, she's just ignoring how much abuse. And she's not just ignoring how much abuse feminists do to others. Okay? Starting with framing reality in such a way that you demonize men, which is that's baseline feminism right there. She's not even recognizing that the vast majority of bullying online done towards women is done by other women. So you're wrong on so many levels that, there's uncountable levels that you are wrong, Laura Bates. And also you like to very disturbingly pretend to be a teenage boy. But nobody wants to address that.
No.
Okay.
They don't think that is creepy because it's a woman.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
It's not creepy.
Of course not. They set the framing up already. So
working publicly, these people come to you. So from around a decade ago, when I first launched the Everyday Sexism project, which is simply a space for people to share experiences of gender inequality, within a couple of weeks,
wasn't this the Everyday Sexism website? Wasn't that the source of a lot of false accusations and violence towards a group of boys?
Yeah, because women could just post their experiences, and there's no way to validate or confirm anything. They could say whatever they wanted, and it was a Believe Woman page, right? And because it was in the UK, there was a girl who made allegations, and I think she mentioned the school that it happened at, or like her claim is, and there were like adults waiting outside. Like the boys had to be like, kind of like, they had to like leave out a different way or something so that they would avoid confrontation by the adults, by the parents. So yeah, that was Laura Bates. Again, what does this serve? Like, the only thing I could see it serving is dividing people. Is basically like making women afraid of men and making men afraid to approach or talk to women, which they're not doing. So I can't see any other reason to do this. Laura Bates wants this. She wants men and women isolated from each other, which is part of the reason why our population is collapsing on itself. And in like a generation or two, nobody will be able to run the machine of our society. Our welfare system will collapse on itself. Women will be homeless. People will be dying. I mean, that's what's going to happen. And then the Amish and the Mormons are going to inherit the earth. And like, maybe like...
And there's going to be correction.
Yeah. And sub-Saharan Africa, I think, is... But even they're like on the decline, and they're probably doing the best. So thanks, Laura Bates. Of course, these cunts don't look that far into the future to even consider that. They're like, whoa, we're not going to run out of money from men. Oh, but we might run out of men.
Okay, and that's a great abstraction over what she's doing. Why don't we just get back to the fact that she painted a target on young men's backs? She painted her website, and the fact that it's allowed to make these anonymous accusations probably still painted a target on young men's backs. And there was no way for these people who were going there to probably enact some kind of vigilante abuse, if not violence, knew who these young men were, if there was even any legitimacy to the allegation whatsoever. So and then she turns around and says we live in a society that tolerates this stuff. Yeah, right, really. Just a name drop of a school has the boys going to that school become targets for abuse because one of them might have engaged in some kind of sexual violence. And all of this is like, she's allowed to do it. Yeah, just free pass. That's that. Can't stop her. Can't stop her.
Yeah.
In this patriarchy for the benefit of men at the expense of women, we can't stop this woman and her website that's already been resulted in young men being targeted while going to school. Congratulations. God. What a horrible, abusive human being.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
On a bad day, 200 rape threats and death threats in a day.
Oh, bullshit.
And that has stopped in the decades since. So...
Yeah, okay, sure. Let's play the next bit here.
An awareness that there were...
Okay, is this number 2? Okay, so
that was number 2, yeah.
No, so the rape threats were number 2, or this is number 2?
This is number 3 that's starting right now.
Okay, all right, we got to get this naming thing correct. So what was the first point?
The first point was about, about like how all of the extremism online is mostly coming from men.
Oh, okay. So that's like, you see, guys, you see how difficult it is because these chunks just sort of smear one into the other.
Yeah, they just flow right into. That's what I'm saying. Like, and honestly, I'm just gonna be straight up. You're not gonna hear anything here that you haven't heard before. There's not gonna be any revelations. If you've been watching us for a while, they don't even have to bring Laura Bates on. They could put on a Teddy Ruxpin, put a tape cassette in his belly, and have him say all of the same shit. I get this many death threats. It's men, patriarchy, rape culture, etc. That's all. It's the same shit. And people listen like, ooh, oh, that sounds awful. Oh, I have sons. What am I gonna do? It's the same shit. It's been the same shit for 10 years. It's not changing. We're just hearing it in a new way. Well, I mean, for me,
not even 10. A new way. It's just the same.
Yeah, it's so the same, first one was the same shit. It's the same.
The first point. Okay, guys. So let's just make this clear. I know I'm a stickler for like some kind of organization. The first point of shit. Okay. I guess the topmost hateful manosphere secrets is that men are the majority of the manosphere.
The man? No, no. He didn't even say manosphere. He said the majority of violence online or online threats and hate and of hate groups, because he doesn't specify. So this could mean the KKK, the neo-Nazis, and let's just lump all of it together. It's okay. The ADL and the SPLC, they co-sign on all of that. Oh yeah, male supremacy, Nazis, Proud Boys, fucking Patriot Prayer, Catholics, it's all the same shit to us. And so this guy's just gonna say, yeah, and all that's men. Oh, well, it just so happens that we only define hatred by the gender of people. So yeah, oh, look at that. It happens to be men. Women don't hate. It's like women don't rape. They don't have penises. How is that possible? Even when they do have penises, they don't have penises. They're men again. so you know, this is like how they frame it. They put men into a black category. You know, years before we were born, they did this. And now when people hear the word men, there is a trigger that goes off because they've all been sort of conditioned to believe things about men that they would never believe about women, and not believe things about women that they probably overestimate in men. So, yeah, I mean, this, of course he's going to start off by saying, well, men are the most violent and rapey and evil of the genders, of all of the millions of genders. The other ones are all the genders of peace, except for those guys. So, yeah, that's how it starts. I mean, he immediately launches into a presumption. And, of course, they're intellectuals, so they know that they're right. They don't even have to challenge it. Or they know they're lying, which I think is more likely the case.
And you know what's funny is that this is false. The majority of online abuse is perpetrated by women.
Yeah, against other women.
Against other women. So, once again, when I point out that feminists, they perpetuate abuse against women, they don't care. Literally, I had a feminist, unironically, when I called her out for using a whole bunch of abusive, insulting language towards her, she's like, "Oh, you're just projecting male violence onto me." I'm like, your belief system allows you to be a total sociopath.
Yeah. He said specifically that the majority of extremism, but I mean, when they say extremism, they mean like violence and threats and stuff. Because like, if wanting to be like left alone, I mean, they would see that as extreme. Like that, I mean, they would. So, you know, oh, I'm a libertarian. Oh, that sounds really extreme. Okay. So yeah, I guess I'm extreme. I mean, men generally lean towards that. They want to be free. They want to be left alone. They want to be able to pursue their goals. Well, we can't have that. We need you to work for us, male. We need you to keep everything running, but we're not going to give you any credit for it.
Okay. But yeah, so the first statement is false. So this hateful manosphere secret that actually the truth is that no, it's women perpetuating abuse against women.
Yeah, and also
you're not going to address any of it.
Feminism is an extreme ideology. We've just been conditioned to think it's normal, but it's absolutely extreme. It doesn't make any sense. It's
well, yeah,
hateful.
like think about it. I said to this woman, like, the logical conclusion of your belief system is you think that feminism stops your husband and your son from raping and beating you. That's a horrible way to live. It's like, it's so dehumanizing to her husband and her son. And it's so fucking wrong. Because what the hell does feminism even do? Like, all it does is say to men, hey, did you notice that you are oppressing women? And then this male-dominated society somehow puts itself in knots to fix it, either at the speed of bureaucracy or faster. Okay. Anyway, and then the second one was her
all the death threats and rape threats that she get. 200, 300, a million a day. A million, probably.
Yes, like hundreds a day. So apparently the Manosphere is spending a lot of time sending Laura Bates
death threats and
you know, and please don't do that. Please don't do that. Just ask her why she has to disguise herself, or why she's not held to account for disguising herself as a pubescent boy or you know, and in order to fucking perv on their secret conversations.
It's for science. It's for research. All right, let's keep going. So this is number 3 now.
Kind of congregating around extremist misogyny and trying to silence women was very much there from the beginning of my work. But for a long time, there was this kind of belief that we shouldn't give them the oxygen of publicity. And then what changed for me was that part
You
of my
realized you
work
could get
is
victim
going
bucks
to-
from Anita.
Well, yeah, or I think I don't remember what she says here, but I think what's really happening is that feminists tried to ignore, and they weren't able to ignore them. So now they feel like they have to address it, and so that's kind of what is going on. So, okay, let's keep going. Let's see what she says.
The schools and working with young people about
that's right.
Sexual consent, healthy relationships, gender stereotyping, and how it hurts kids of all genders and so on. And a few years ago, there was a real shift in the attitudes of the young people I was working with, particularly young men who were coming to sessions with some real misinformation that was quite deeply ingrained.
Information.
Well, misogynist, non-feminist, or even
they were coming.
Dare I say, anti-feminist.
Yeah, but the anti-feminist content that they had was like, men and boys get sexually assaulted too, Laura Bates. That's what I remember them saying. And false accusations are a thing, none of which is misinformation.
No, of course not. Or maybe they used the word misandry, and she was like, that doesn't exist. But anyway, let's see the rest of this. There's a little bit more to this clip, I think.
So they were coming out with, feminism is an anti-men conspiracy theory. The gender pay gap is a myth. Me Too is a witch hunt. Good men are losing their jobs. White men are the real oppressed minority these days, and so on. And I really recognized some of the.
Well, they had to put in white there, eh?
Oh, yeah, because we have the least amount of sympathy for white men. And she thinks that just by saying that, first of all, I know she's misrepresenting the argument. I've never heard a white man say, I am the most oppressed. Just like I've never heard a man say that I am the most oppressed. All they're saying is, we're human too. If you cut us, we bleed. We also have problems. And the system isn't being fair to us. That's not the same as oppression. That doesn't mean we're in shackles. Although I'm sure somebody could make a good case for it. But no man is doing that because, for one, I think it's not in men's psychology to do that. To basically
some would. I doubt that they're the people that Laura Bates is dealing with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that she's just taking like valid complaints that young men have, which is completely valid. Okay, and that's showing in the numbers because The Guardian, I think, recently had an article that said that more boys or teenage boys are moving to the right. And I know that they put it up as like a scary article, but I know what it really means. It means boys are walking away from feminism. And they're like, I don't want this. And so, I want to be independent. I want to live my own life. I don't really want to like have to fucking grovel in front of women in the hopes that they will give me like the time of day. And I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. I mean, like, we've been trying to get women to like step up for 10 years, and some are doing it. Like, I'm seeing it happen, but I think it's time for men to start saying no to women. Like, I mean, in mass. I saw this little video. Lindsay likes to watch these reels on, I think it's on Facebook, where they're like short videos, like YouTube shorts, and she goes through them. And there was one of a woman, like a scantily clad woman, very like trying to be really sexy. And she's like on the street, and she's just interviewing random dudes and asking them if they would consider dating her permanently. And I think it's meant to be a prank or just to get like reactions from men to see how simpy they get, right? And this clip that was viral was this guy, and she was like, would you consider dating me long term? And he said, well, you'd have to answer some questions first. And she's like, okay, what are the questions? And she was surprised that she thought he was just going to be like, whatever you want, queen. But he was like, no, I think you're going to have to answer some questions. And she said, what? And he said, okay, first of all, like, do you have $20,000 in the bank saved up and a job? Like, are you able to take care of yourself? And she was like, no, I don't. I'm probably going to have to, be dependent on you. And he said, okay, next question. I think it was something like, oh yeah, are you going to be like loyal, or do you want to like, see other people sometimes, or do you want to like make this monogamous? Are you down with monogamy? And she was like, well, I do talk to other guys. And then he was like, okay, the third thing is, do you like post pictures of yourself online, wearing next to nothing, scantily clad? You have an Instagram or something like that? And she was like, oh yeah, because she was dressed like that right there. And she was like, oh yeah, I totally do that. And he was like, well, no, this isn't going to work. I want a righteous woman. And I was like, I was like, I looked at Lindsay, I was like, that's what's got to happen. Like we always say, women are the gatekeepers to sex. Men are the gatekeepers of commitment. So, I'm sorry, but that's the only way, I think, because that woman was like, I can't believe you turned me down. And because, he was like a normal dude. Like, he wasn't a Chad or anything, although that was Chad behavior, in my opinion. I was like, but I mean, that's what it's got to be. So, like, and Laura Bates, people like this, they're not going to help men with that. So if men are doing that, like these boys that are like moving away from feminism, well, I mean, I'm like, well, why did it take you so long? It's probably because you came to the realization that you didn't need this, like that this isn't the way of things, and people like Peterson and us and like others online are showing them that. So I think that's the only way. Like women are just not stepping up, Allison. They're not. Like, after this Barbie movie, Barbie made $1 billion over the weekend. And it made $1 billion over the weekend because of the feminist messaging. Not because of those 9-dimensional fucking backgammon that was going on. Nobody noticed that. The normies just saw women have it worse. America Ferrera speech. Men, listen to this. This is my life. It's completely nonsensical, but you have to agree, otherwise I'm not going to fuck you anymore. And men should be saying, well, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm going to go do something else with a nice woman. I'm going to go find me a righteous person. I'm going to make my life better. Because that's the only way.
Here's what I have to say to men. Okay, way back in our evolutionary history, this whole situation, men and women got set up because women learned to care about individual men. I'm going to tell you something really honest. If a woman believes that the only thing that's stopping you from being a monster to her is feminism, you will never be loved by her. Mm-hmm. It is impossible to get what you want from her emotionally. So you just need to walk, because you're just not going to get it. Like, it's like you're for the rest of your life, you are going to be under suspicion. And she's going to think something external to you is what makes you love her. There's no way that you can construct an intimate relationship on that foundation. So just walk, because literally, you might as well view these women to be, I don't know, if you're a straight man, just view them as trying to have a romantic relationship with another man. It's just not going to work. Mm-hmm. As soon as they say feminism, walk. And you know what? I think men are doing that. And it's not even that as soon as they say feminism, this isn't even a conscious decision. No. Yeah, Barbie movie made $1 billion. Guys need to be aware of that and realize that is sort of the gestalt of the modern woman. And I know over the past 2 years, the number of men who are willing to date women has fallen 10%. Those are rookie numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I got some super chows. Cool. So I'm gonna read through the super chows, and I know that people don't like the giggles, but I did pay for them. So Anonymous gives us $9 and says, yesterday I saw a video that a mother posted about her 19-year-old son who went to see Barbie with his friends. He told her that his friend asked him about his opinion on the portrayal of Ken. He replied with, well, what do you think about the portrayal of women in the film for the last 50 years? She said that she loved the portrayal of Ken and that if you don't like it, you're missing the point. By the look on her face, she was so proud of her son. She posted a quote by Ken that reads, how does that feel? It's not fun, is it? And agreed with the quote. I think, again, if they're playing...
Hey, but...
Go ahead.
Here's my confusion, all right? So if Ken represents women, right? Let's just follow this logically, as we did before. If Ken represents disenfranchised women, which is bullshit, women were always provided for. If a man, it's like, okay, so the guy who built the Taj Mahal, he was like, yeah, bitch, I built this so I could exclude you from it. I don't think so. If anybody knows, the Taj Mahal was built as a gesture of love to like his favorite concubine. All right. So this is all bullshit to begin with. It's not really an accurate reflection of the situation of women in the past. Not to mention the fact that feminism completely ignores the importance of women's work throughout human history in maintaining society. But regardless, let's just forget that.
Yeah.
Let us walk through this. Ken is a allegory for women, or women gaining their rights, quote unquote, right? Okay, so when Ken overtakes society, or when he controls, or he overcomes the patriarchy, right? The people who join with stereotypical Barbie to reverse Ken's progressive changes to the Constitution in line with, let's just say that Ken is the suffragette. He's the original suffragette. And I think that's a reasonable estimation to make. Ken engages in a coup on the government. The suffragettes were essentially trying to do the same thing through terrorist actions that killed 5 people. So they were more severe in their behavior than Ken. Ken is a suffragette in this analogy, right? Now, who's Alan? Alan is a handmaiden. She's one of those red dressed white Whipple women from The Handmaid's Tale. Okay, he's a handmaiden. He's going to help the patriarchs reestablish the power. And why is it justified that the patriarchs reestablish their power in Barbie Land? It's justified because of Ken's extremist tactics, which are relate to the suffragettes' extremist tactics, and the fact that the Barbies were the ones who built all the institutions that the Kens want access to. This is and I know that this is not what they intended, but essentially what they are saying by this entire analogy is that women deserve to be disenfranchised because of their tactics, the tactics of the suffragettes, and the fact that they are demanding access to something they didn't build in the first place. This is an anti-women's suffrage message. Now, I know why they did this completely unintentionally. It's because at some point they just sort of, in their brain just was like, oh yeah, we're doing an allegory. Isn't this hilarious? Like, men will find out what women are, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point they were like, but Ken is still a man. So we gotta respond to this male suffragette the way that, in the same way that we would respond to a man doing this. So Ken stops being a reflection of the suffragettes and becomes a man again. And that's why all of this is justified. So their literal bias against men fucked up their own allegory about men being disenfranchised. You see what I'm saying? Like, at some point they couldn't maintain. They couldn't. Their primitive one-cell brain, their like 1 horsepower brain, could not extend the analogy to its final conclusion, right? And now notice how the handmaiden, Alan, just imagine Alan in his little red dress with his little white Whipple, who's helping the patriarchy reestablish its power. Okay, you notice how the handmaiden and then the queer men, the weird Barbies, they don't say, okay, we don't. What we want is equality. Okay, so the Kens and the Barbies should be able to vote on the Constitution, not just the Barbies. No. The handmaidens are like, no, you patriarchs, you deserve all the power, and we will take whatever you decide to give us as submissive women. Oh, well, men, but you know what I mean. That, you know, the analogy is that these would be women. So the good guys in all of this are the handmaidens and the patriarchs reestablishing patriarchal order and reestablishing it in such with no expectation of equality, just an expectation that out of their patriarchal magnificence, you know, like that kind of graciousness, that they will give the people who betrayed the women who betrayed their own gender something, a bargain. You know, they'll bargain with those women. And this is like, I'm watching this, I'm like, did you not follow this to its logical conclusion? Whoever wrote this, like, did you not? And it's just freaking astounding.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this woman is saying about the portrayal of women in film for the last 50 years. She obviously has not watched the portrayal of women in film in the last 50 years. Wait, that's like in the 70s. Oh, for God's sake. Oh. Because
I don't know. I think again, like.
No, I know that they didn't do it intentionally.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think that it's consistent logically. But I think that at the end of the day,
it's a confusing mess.
You can make a film confusing enough that people think there's some deeper meaning, while leaving the surface level of it very obvious, so that the average person just walks out with that message. It's like somebody reading into like a Michael Bay Transformers movie and comparing it to, like, you know, the I don't know, when Christ walked the earth. I'm not
disagreeing with that.
No, I know. I'm just saying that I'm sort of like commenting on the post, the super chat that somebody sent. I'm not really sure like what, you know, what the point of this is, but I appreciate the message nonetheless.
Okay, so. Well, let me finish what I was going to say from the super chow. And then on the look of her face, she was so proud of her son. She posted a quote by Ken that reads, "How does that feel? It's not fun, is it?" Yeah, well, but despite the fact that we're supposedly supposed to sympathize with Ken as a woman in that scene, it's still justified to take away all of his power because of his extremist tactics and the fact that he wasn't responsible for building an institution he wants access to. Women did not build the government that they wanted access to. They did not build the sports that they wanted access to. They did not build the institutions of academia that they wanted access to. They did not build the industries that they wanted access to. Right there. They didn't build the government that had a vote that they wanted access to. Right there. You're supposed to sympathize with Ken, but you're also supposed to want him out of power. Mm-hmm. And you're not just want him out of power. I mean,
the way that everything ends, you know, that should tell you everything you need to know too, right? Where they're like, well, you can't be on the Supreme Court, but maybe we'll give you a circuit court.
Well, but they're trying to say, again, they're going back to this idea that it's a parable about men being disenfranchised. But, okay, but the way that you structured the story, you made it such a way that Barbie had every right, or you tried to emotionally make the argument that Barbie had every right because she had built these institutions to exclude Ken. And she had every right because of Ken's extreme behavior, extreme quote-unquote terroristic tactics, terroristic suffragette tactics in attempting to get freedom, that she had every right to remove him entirely from power, remove all the Kens from power, not institute a mutual vote, like everybody has the vote, but remove them entirely from power. And then at the end, we're supposed to be like, oh yeah, this is again a parable about women? No. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. There's no logical continuity in this that makes any sense.
Right.
If it is a allegory, then you have just made an allegory that explains why, an anti-suffrage allegory. Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's no way around it. Yeah. Unless you can explain to me when I'm supposed to see Ken as an allegory for a woman who is disenfranchised, when I'm supposed to see Ken as a suffragette, and when I'm supposed to see Ken as a man. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, I mean, I guess if Ken completely as soon as he has complete control over the government, he's now a man and he deserves all the punishment. Like, is that where it breaks down? So if women ever gained power over the government, that's where it breaks down. Then you know that we just have to, you know, in order to justify going back to patriarchy, all we have to do is let women take over the government, and then we can say, well, no, we're going to kick you out now, and we're going to institute a hard patriarchy. You have absolutely no say. None of this makes any fucking sense. It's because. No. It's written by somebody who has absolutely no control over their subconscious or no awareness.
But they don't know the situation for men. They assume.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. All right. Well, thank you for that super chow, anonymous person. Great Indoors gives us $10 and says, Isn't Laura Bates' current profession relying on the fact that can be anonymous on the internet, or is she banking on the prospect that journalists are going to get an anonymity license from governments to do their bidding? Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't know. She's probably going to expect people like her to have exclusive rights, privileges that others won't. She definitely wants to remove an anonymity, but only from the hate groups, guys. Only from the hate groups, i.e. the men's groups. So anyway, thanks, Great Indoors. And then Some Bucks For You gives us $10. Thank you for that. And says, here is $10 as a small patch for the $10 difference in the last fundraiser. Hope this helps. Because we missed last month by $10, right? So thank you, Some Bucks For You. Really appreciate the support. All right,
Not Faber actually put them through too, so but thank you.
Oh, cool. Thank you. All right, so let's play a little bit more. It's going to get pretty good coming up here pretty soon. So
fake statistics and the arguments they were using from these online spaces. And at that
okay, so she's saying that these boys are throwing fake statistics and making outrageous claims about men having any problems at all, right?
And this is number 3?
That's number 3, yeah.
The number 3 hateful the hateful secret about the Manosphere that Laura Bates uncovered is that they use statistics.
Yeah, but misinformation bad statistics, not science. Feminism is science.
We're not gonna. Yes, feminism is science.
It's the science, TM.
Yeah, believe the science that is feminism.
It is. She is the science. Okay.
point I realized this was a kind of radicalization that was happening very effectively but almost completely under the radar. At that point, if you talked about incels, you know, when I was researching the book, people asked, is that a kind of battery? Like, people just hadn't heard of this at all. And so it meant that actually I thought at that point we did need to talk about it because it was reaching kids in a really effective way. And if as a society we weren't aware of it as a form of radicalization,
is it awful that I hate him more than her?
To support young people when they were confronted by it.
I don't hate anybody, but I think that I can understand how it's more frustrating because he is a man, and I think he's listening to all this and just thinking, well, it's not me because I'm a good man and I have sons and those are good men. They're gonna be good men or else, right? So, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can't tell when somebody just hates men. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like Laura Bates hates men. She hates men that don't do as they're told.
But no. She hates men, but unless they identify as women.
Yeah.
Like and I know that men, you know, trans women are women, but she will dislike you as a man, or she thinks that you are the problem, up to the point where you say, you know what, I'm non-binary. That's it. And then you're not part of the problem anymore.
Yeah, as long as you behave appropriately.
And not even like you're just not part. Then you start. If you do behave inappropriately, there are a ton of excuses. They're just Let's. Have you seen? If you identify not as a man but non-binary and you behave badly, suddenly you get a ton of excuses raining down. Just like if you were a woman. All right, and that's it. Like all she really is against is men identifying as men. Because the instant a man says, no, I'm non-binary, she's like, oh yeah, welcome to the club. No, you're not to blame. And I've seen this. Like I've seen it in her writing. This is her approach. And nothing else has to change. You don't have to look differently. You don't have to have any other different opinion whatsoever or behavior. You just have to be like, no, I'm non-binary now. You don't even have to identify as a woman. Just I'm non-binary now and you're fine. It's identifying as a man that she doesn't like. That's it. And this is what makes it so morally bankrupt, this entire freaking discourse that we're seeing right now. As long as a man says, yes, I'm a man, he's a problem. But the instant he says, changing nothing else about himself, I am non-binary, he is no longer a problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to use they or them. He can even use the pronouns he. He can be like, I'm a masculine presenting non-binary individual, and I'm changing nothing about you, and you're no longer part of the patriarchy, no longer a problem, except to the TERFs, who think that, you know, the original sin is biologically based, not identity based.
Okay, let's continue. This next bit is good, but it's a little longer.
Did you finish the super chows though?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
right.
Jesus, I need to pay attention more.
Yeah, it's all right.
I want to sort of define the different groups that make up these sort of online communities that you've discovered. I had heard about incels. I'll admit I had never heard the term manosphere until I read your writing. Can you explain the manosphere for people who might not know?
Good Lord, here it comes.
Well, yeah, here it comes. Get ready. So,
is this number 4 or number 5?
This is number 4, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So she's going to tell us what the manosphere. I hope you're ready, because nobody knows the manosphere better than Laura Bates. She obviously knows what it is, what it really is.
What the hell is she looking up above her? Like
that's when
is that a picture of a 13-year-old boy that she's?
When you look up and to the left, I think you're remembering something, but if you look up and to the right, you're about to lie. So I think that's what it is, but let's see.
Okay.
Yes, so this is the name that has been given, not by me, but kind of by researchers to this particular online ecosystem, if you like. And I think what you can say that unites all the different communities within the manosphere is that they all take as their starting point the idea of taking the red pill, which is an analogy borrowed from the Matrix, that they're kind of seeing the world as it truly is.
All right, I'm just pausing for the banana there. So far,
you're getting
so
out
good.
They're getting out of the extremism of viewing half the human race as being evil.
Yeah.
Or evil solely because they identify with their biological sex. Let's be fair to Laura Bates. Yeah. I mean, she's not quite as bad as the TERFs. At least she gives men an out. If as long as a man doesn't identify with his biological sex, he can be not evil. But the TERFs are like, nope, you're born with a penis. That's it. You're evil. And this is even just checking out of the retarded argument, the civil war that the feminists are in, and being like, well, what is a woman? That is now radical misogyny.
Yes, it is. All right, let's go.
And what they claim to see is a kind of inversion of oppression. So men are the real oppressed minority. Women have sexual freedom, economic freedom. Men are increasingly oppressed by feminist gains. But then within that kind of base system, there's then different ideologies that grow from that across a kind of loosely connected network of blogs, websites, forums, members groups, social media platforms, Reddit
Okay, but here's the thing, lady. You've never proven the reverse. You've never proven that men constructed a society for their own benefit at the expense of women. However, they have proven that women, when they get in charge, they do push women's benefit over men's. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, I don't think that the oppression narrative is useful at all when we talk about the relationship between men and women, and I have very deep reasons for believing that. However, are you saying that they genuinely believe that men are oppressed, or simply that women are not oppressed? Mm-hmm. That's the question I have. Okay.
All right, yeah, let's go. I think she's going to talk about the various segments, but this is the same section. It's just longer because she's got.
Yeah, but here's I'm going to say this one last time. Feminism is not scientific.
No.
The conjecture that they have constructed has never been found to have predictive value. It has been disproven multiple times by various experiments done by feminists themselves.
Yeah.
So, the idea that people are questioning feminism. Well, honestly, the real question is, why didn't academia? Why does academia continue to perpetuate this like it is in any way scientific when it isn't?
Yeah.
Okay, so why is it up to the lay practitioner to question the orthodoxy when it's so fantastically self-contradictory? Right, women are oppressed. When did men care about women, Laura Bates? When did men start to care about women? Oh, did men never care about women? Do men never? So how's feminism going to get men to care about women? And how did if men don't care about women, how did feminism get anywhere in a male-dominated system? How is it that men don't care about women when they're their intimate partners, but suddenly weaponized nagging, politicized nagging comes along and suddenly, oh yeah, we care about women. Bullshit! Feminism uses what it says doesn't exist, which is men's care for women. And a lot of these guys are waking up to that fact.
Yep.
You know, and maybe they're slingshotting into men are oppressed. And you know, there's a good reason to believe that. Because honestly, society uses men as expendable in service of its ecstasy. Like, look at it, Ukraine. Who's dying? Laura Bates? Who's dying to keep all that, to keep the country alive, to keep the infrastructure out of Russian hands, whatever whatever.
Well,
who's dying?
There are men dying on both sides. So.
Yeah, there have been dying on both sides. Yeah. Who's dying to solve this political quandary? Laura Bates? Okay? And no, war is not men's fault. Mm-hmm. Men may adjudicate it, but war is predominantly about resources. Even World War II, they say that, oh, it's all like a moral war. Bullshit. It established the states as the world reserve currency, okay? Which itself is a way of getting resources. All right? Now, the way that war works is it's like a very aggressive form of gathering resources for a society. Yeah. Right? And it's something that is predominantly forced on men. Right? When a society is in an existential crisis, who does it sacrifice? Men. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can't get away from this. So looking at the course of history and saying that men are sacrificed whenever society encounters a problem, a political problem, a resource problem, a problem of protection, a problem of building infrastructure, sacrifice men to do it, to overcome that problem. That is just an observation. And it is, in my opinion, it is entirely legitimate to follow from that observation. Men are oppressed by society. Okay? Now, I wouldn't do it, but I have a great deal of sympathy for that conclusion. And I have a great deal of sympathy for people who are infuriated that they have been lied to. And they've been told that society exists for the benefit of men at the expense of women, when men are the gender that are expected to sacrifice everything in its defense and provision.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll shut up now.
All right. So I got 2 super chows.
Oops, sorry, guys. I'm
going to read those real quick. It's all good. It's all good. Woo! So Anonymous gives us $5 and says, I'm honestly concerned about our existence. We could literally go extinct and potentially cause an eternal extinction for all life forms when our sun goes supernova. Then that dying sun turns to stardust and the cycle repeats itself. God, no, that sounds like an eternal hell. He put that in quotes, so I guess he's quoting something. But thank you, Anonymous, for that. And then we got another one from I'm sorry, hold on. I'm just trying to find the thing that, okay, here we go. Right. Yeah. Another one from Richard Bier. He's John Cena.
And his name is John Cena.
And Richard says for $5, I wonder how Laura Bates feels about non-binary Jeffrey Marsh. Would she defend Jeffrey because Jeffrey doesn't identify as a man?
Yes. Okay? If Elliot Rodger said, I'm not a man, I'm non-binary, Laura Bates would be defending him. Even if he called himself a him, probably. Okay? If Alec Manaxian had said, I am not a man, I am non-binary, she would be defending him. Alright? That's how it works. It doesn't matter you don't change nothing about yourself. Nothing about your behavior. And you identify not as a man, but as non-binary, she would defend you. That's how ridiculously empty her philosophy is.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back to
this. Morality has nothing to do with your behavior in her philosophy and everything to do with your identity.
Mm-hmm.
It's complete moral bankruptcy.
It is.
Okay.
All right, let's play the rest of this. She's going to define some things. Let's go.
Blogs, you name it. So within that, you have your incels, who are men who describe themselves as involuntary celibates. They're not having sex and they want to be. They're obsessed with the idea that women owe them sex and that women should be punished and forced to have sex with them.
Okay, then why aren't they raping women?
Yeah. I mean,
This is a complete mischaracterization of this. No, and the funny thing is that they do this whenever they don't want to face something about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Incels correctly identify both what society thinks about men who cannot attract women and what is attractive to women. And I have seen this. I've seen an incel say, you know, people think I have no value because I'm not attracted to women. And a person will come in on there and say, "Tuh, tuh, tuh, tuh. Well, if you were attracted for women, you would have value." I'm like, why are you gaslighting the fuck out of these people? Do they really need this? Is this how you're going to solve this issue? Okay, this is what I've heard from incels. And actually, there was recently this wonderful tweet. Some woman who called this guy an incel, and this other man who is probably a men's rights activist or you know, parallel to us, came in and said, no, incels actually pedestalize women. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be involuntarily celibate at the very least.
Yeah, they'd be MGTOW.
They'd be MGTOW.
They're really like one little decision away, or one sort of mental state away from being MGTOW. And actually, but Laura Bates addresses MGTOW as well, because of course feminists have to have an opinion on men that just don't want anything to do with them. So let's continue, because there's no winning. That's kind of the point here, guys.
And they really incite offline physical and sexual violence against women. But you also have men going their own way, or so-called MGTOWs, who think that women are so dangerous, false rape allegations are so rife that the only solution is for men to cut women out of their lives altogether.
All right, so if they want to be with women, it's bad because they feel entitled to women's bodies. If they don't want to be with women, it's bad because they have
see women as a threat.
They see women as a threat, or they have a low opinion of them, and they shouldn't be allowed, because there's no other logic to this other than, well, you're not allowed to have an opinion on me that I don't like. Yeah. Right.
And I mean, you can't recognize what the state, like, look at what she did.
I mean, Laura Bates
Everyday
is proving
sexism.
MGTOW right now. Yeah, everyday sexism.
Everyday sexism. Some anonymous accusation. And a bunch of vigilantes went and attempted to confront boys who there was no way of knowing if they had anything to do with this anonymous accusation, if it was even real. And you're turning around and saying, oh, look at the MGTOWs. They think women are dangerous, herpaderp. Ugh. And you have nobody knocked on your door and said, what the hell are you doing, lady? You're going to get someone killed.
Yep.
Nobody did that. Nobody thought to do it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So that's MGTOW. So again, next.
You have so-called men's rights activists who kind of have this veneer of public respectability because they claim to be fighting for issues that affect men. But in reality, they are very much focused on fighting against women and feminism. And they really undermine and don't support men with the issues.
You shut up! You do not advocate for fucking women! You are just a fucking feminist! You are a feminist, and you do not advocate for women! I'm sorry, no you don't! I have seen your goddamn financials! If presenting women as victims wasn't so fucking lucrative, you wouldn't even bother! You don't care about women, you care about the money that they make! For you!
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, did I just blow out everybody's eardrums? God damn you!
Yeah.
You have nothing to do with women. Feminism is an idea about how society is structured. It uses women. It uses women. Women owe feminism nothing. We don't owe them cover. We don't owe it gratitude. We owe it nothing. Feminism owes women everything. Because feminism exploits men's care for women to perpetrate its political ends. You're basically using women like cattle. which is so funny because you're constantly talking about, oh, men use women like chattel. Bullshit. Feminism does. And I've seen your freaking financials of the feminist DV organizations. Where you guys make a lot of money for like a half-hour work a goddamn week. It is absolutely repulsive. And how dare you? How dare you say you advocate for women? Oh.
Yeah.
Women would have gotten the vote because they volunteered in wartime. The reason why women got the vote had nothing to do with the suffragettes' terrorism. It was similar, but not the same as why men got the vote. Groups of men got the vote. Men served in wartime. They looked at women serving in the factories during wartime, taking over men's jobs, which were more dangerous and more arduous and more dirty than women's jobs. So they took them over during wartime, and then the legislators saw this and said they deserve something for their sacrifice. It wasn't the same kind of sacrifice. It was voluntary. It wasn't a situation where they were being shoved in the front line and put into a literal goddamn wood chipper, which is what men had to go through to get the vote. But they got it because of that. It had nothing to do with feminism. And everything to do with every individual woman's decision to go and volunteer for the war effort. Okay? And then feminism swans in and says, yeah, that was us. It was us. We did that for you. No, you didn't. Women did it for ourselves, not because of you. So no, you slapped. No. If you say that again, if you say women and feminism again, you deserve a slap. Slap the fucking woman out of your fucking mouth. You have nothing to do with them. You do not advocate for them.
Language.
Good Lord.
It's fine. All right. Let's go. She's got a little bit more about this, and I think she's going to bring up PUAs.
But a veneer of the public respectability, huh?
Yeah.
Well, at least she's acknowledging that.
Yeah.
Because they double down on the kind of stereotypes that we know are hurting men.
What the fuck is this nonsense?
MRAs double down on the stereotypes that hurt men. Oh, you mean masculinity as like its own thing that has value? Because that's like, oh, I'm a man that wants to be a man. Well, I guess you're just hurting yourself then. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, that's what she means. She means that men's rights activists will say, some of us have different attitudes about, gender essentialism. Because we're sort of, the only thing that unites us is that we want recognition for the issues that men face. Some of us have different ideological focuses. There are actually left and liberal men's rights activists. There are ones who think that there isn't that significant a difference between men and women. There are ones who think there is. We cross a spectrum. The only thing we care about, or the only thing that unites us, is that we do not want to shut up or look away at the issues that men face. So first of all, she's wrong. Not all men's activists even say that masculinity has to be this way. But here's the other thing. This is what I've noticed when they say that stereotypes so-called hurt men. They say that recognizing there are any positives to masculinity means you are constraining men to those positive behaviors. So they think that when they say there is nothing positive about masculinity, masculinity is defined by criminal behavior, the actions of criminals. Like, in other words, masculinity is defined by rapists and domestic violence and thieves and murderers. Right? That's masculinity. It's criminality. They're liberating men. Because there's nothing positive for men to be as men. Therefore, you're liberated from having to identify as men. Don't you feel so much better having no identity whatsoever?
Yeah.
No positive identity whatsoever based on your biological factors? Isn't that so freeing? That's what she means. Men's rights activists. Some of us anyway, those of us who don't disagree with biological factors will say that masculinity has unique positive values.
Well, feminists certainly aren't producing any evidence that they think that there's such a thing as positive masculinity.
Masculinity, men, have unique positive values that they add something to society by virtue of their biology. Okay, their particular hormonal makeup. We believe that. And she's saying, because we ascribe these positive values, that we are putting men in a box. So if you get rid of all of those positive values, you're freeing men from that box. And that's what she's describing as hurting men. Recognizing that men have innate positive qualities hurts men.
Yep.
Again, she doesn't care. Like the instant, if Elliot Rodger in his manifesto had signed it, Elliot Rodger, non-binary, pronouns, he, him, they, them, she would be like, oh no, we have to defend we defend him now because he doesn't identify as a man. That's it. She's after men's identity. She's after the idea of men identifying with their biological sex.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, let's get to the next bit.
And then you have pickup artists, which are again a kind of related group in terms of kind of seeing women as a kind of sexual prey, objectifying and dehumanizing them. So if incels believe that the sexual marketplace, as they call it, is rigged, they see women as kind of slot machines that will never pay out for them, then pickup artists think that there is a set formula that you can learn, that anyone can learn, that if you push the right buttons and say exactly the right catchphrases, you can make the machine pay out every time.
No.
Yeah, right.
No. They basically just teach social facility, right? This is such bullshit. So if men try to figure out how to make themselves attractive to women, that's bad. If men walk away from women, that's bad. If men are upset or even have an opinion on the fact that women don't find them attractive, that's bad.
And if men try to like advocate for men so they don't commit suicide, that's bad. They
Okay,
identify
there's a
that
commonality.
feminism is creating a problem there. Yeah.
There's a commonality. If we recognize masculinity as its own valid thing, that's a problem.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
Yep.
And as long as you entertain women like this, because she's not a TERF, by the way, guys. I'm not kidding when I say that if Elliot Rodgers identified as non-binary, this woman would be defending him. She's not a TERF. Her problem is with men identifying with being a man, with being masculine, is the idea that men have their own being that's legitimate. That's her problem. Okay? She has no problem with trans women. Right? And this actually makes her better than a TERF. Because at the very least, she gives men an out. TERFs don't.
Well, they have to make sure that they're not men, so she's really not giving men an out, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Intersectionals are aliens and TERFs are TERFs are predators and wait. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's alien versus predator, right?
Yeah.
No matter who wins,
we lose. Okay, so is this number 5 or her?
That was number 5. I think it's almost over. There's like a few seconds left, so
it's all based on this kind of dehumanization of women, but from within that, it's then quite a diverse group of communities.
Wait. Okay, go back. So she's alleging that this is dehumanization of women. Let's go back
all of the Manosphere stuff dehumanizes women in one way or another, is what she's saying.
Okay, go back and let's listen to how she describes this.
Right.
To make the machine pay out every time.
No, it has to go back further. Let's go back to the incels.
Group, in terms.
Oh, all the way back to the incels?
Yes, back to the incels.
All right.
Okay, define the groups.
Discovered.
Okay, so these are the dehumanizing groups.
Yeah.
And I think what she means by dehumanizing is, again, recognizing that there's a legitimacy to the male point of view. So there's something that women aren't, in terms of standpoint theory, like women don't have access to it. So it's like the recognition that there's an other than women. Even that makes sense? Like there's a point of view that exists that's legitimate outside of women. That's what she doesn't like.
No, of course. Yeah, it has nothing to do with gender, really. It's about control.
I had heard about incels. I'll admit I had never heard the term manosphere until I read your writing. Can you explain the manosphere for people who might not know?
Yes, so this is the name that has been given, not by me, but kind of by researchers to this particular online ecosystem, if you like. And I think what you can say that unites all the different communities within the manosphere is that they all take as their starting point the idea of taking the red pill, which is an analogy borrowed from the Matrix, that they're kind of seeing the world as it truly is.
I'm just pausing there for the banana, okay? So we're going to continue now.
And what they claim to see is a kind of inversion of oppression. So men are the real oppressed minority. Women have sexual freedom, economic freedom.
This dehumanizes women. Recognition. Okay, so what she's doing here is the recognition that men are oppressed and women are not dehumanizes women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So does the reverse dehumanize men? That would be the conclusion. So she's basically just she's basically just saying that she dehumanizes men.
Mm-hmm.
Men are increasingly oppressed by feminist gains, but then within that kind of base system, there's then different ideologies that grow from that across a kind of loosely connected network of blogs, websites, forums, members groups, social media platforms, Reddit threads, vlogs, you name it. So
all right, I'm pausing there again for the banana. Now I think she's going to talk about incels now.
Within that, you have your incels, who are men who describe themselves as involuntary celibates. They're not having sex and they want to be. They're obsessed with the idea that women owe them sex and that women should be punished and forced to have sex with them.
Okay, so let's look at that. So women owe them sex. So they feel like they're undesirable, and women owe them their consent. So sort of like all of the lookist movements, like the fat phobia movements, the ageism movements, because I don't understand what these women are complaining about when they say that they're unattractive, except that men don't consent to them sexually.
I guess, but that doesn't count because reasons.
Of course not.
Yeah. And also, I don't think that it's important to point out that I don't think incels are after sex, because if they were, they'd just buy a prostitute. They want to connect with someone who cares about them.
Yeah, that's essentially it. And I would agree, considering what I've seen them say. They actually push back against the whole prostitution thing, saying we don't want somebody who just consents to us because we paid them money. They want a relationship. They want desire. Mm-hmm. They want someone to appreciate them. And this is like the most horrible thing, is for a man to want to be appreciated by a woman. And also, there might be some minority that is really aggressive in their rhetoric. But if we're going by that standard, you really should look at you really should look at the radical feminists, because it's more than a minority that's aggressive in their rhetoric. But here's the other thing. This is the inverse of all the movements about men's lookism, that men don't have a right to be attracted to what they're attracted to. Incels are basically just reflecting women's own statements about men, or like some subsets of women who consider themselves unattractive, their statements about what men should find attractive. Right? Mm-hmm. And if men don't find fat women or old women or ugly women attractive, then there's something morally wrong with those men. Okay? The incels, the ones who are more extreme, might say something like, well, if women don't find us attractive, there's something morally wrong with women. There's no difference. It's just this acknowledgement that the male point of view is just as valid as the female point of view. So the male point of view to the whole men only find fat women don't find fat women, ugly women, old women attractive, is women don't find short, disabled, minority men attractive. Don't make money. And that's what the incels are saying. And so the only thing that she's complaining about here is that men exist and have an opinion.
Yep.
Like they believe that they're legitimate, that their existence is legitimate. This is her problem again. Okay.
All right.
They really
And that's
incite
dehumanizing.
offline physical and sexual violence against women. But you also have men going their own way, or so-called MGTOWs, who think that women are so dangerous, false rape allegations are so rife that the only solution is for men to cut women out of their lives altogether. You have so-called
All right, I'm just pausing there for the banana.
men's rights activists who kind of have this veneer of public respectability because they claim to be fighting for issues that affect men.
Blame.
But in reality, they are very much focused on fighting against women and feminism. And they really
No.
undermine-
You don't get to say women and feminism in the same breath.
Yeah.
Nope. And feminism, like we talked about at length at the beginning, feminism is not about equality. It's about presenting a view of the world that is deeply anti-male. That men would ever construct a society for their own benefit at the expense of women. That is deeply anti-male. It justifies why we do not care about men's issues. It also justifies literally abusing men psychologically by saying horrible things about them. That is a horrible thing to say about men. Okay? So if you're going to say that, oh, I can't be legitimate unless I allow you, Laura Bates, to punch men in the face whenever you want to, I'm sorry, no. I'm going to advocate against that. I'm going to advocate against abuse of men, including feminist abuse of men. Full stop.
and don't support men with the issues that they're facing because they double down on the kind of stereotypes that we know are hurting men. And then you have pickup artists, which are again a kind of related group in terms of kind of seeing women as a kind of sexual prey, objectifying and dehumanizing them. So if incels believe that the sexual marketplace, as they call it, is rigged, they see women as kind of slot machines that will never pay out for them, then pickup artists think that there is a set formula that you can learn, that anyone can learn, that if you push the right buttons and say exactly the right catchphrases, you can make the machine pay out every time.
You
So
mean
it's all
you can
based-
make women consent to you? So incels believe that women will never consent to them, and pickup artists believe that you can learn to generate sexual interest in women. That's essentially like stripping away all of the anti-male bullshit that she applies to it. That's essentially what's happening here. And this is all dehumanizing women.
Yep. And none of these people, none of these groups are trying to break any laws or harm anyone at all. Like, they're all looking for, they're either trying to get consent, they presume they're not going to get it, they don't want it, or, you know, they're just trying to, like, make the system more fair. They're not even really talking about those things. So, she doesn't care, though. She doesn't care.
There's no legit, like, and she
she's
never...
controlling the narrative, so...
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
based on this kind of dehumanization of women, but from within that, it's then quite a diverse group of communities.
Yeah, so let me see. That's 718. So this is the next bit. These last two are pretty good too. I do have a patron show that I got to do, and then I got to pick up Lindsay, so we can't go too much longer. So,
Okay. Okay, bonus round, 2 more.
all right. I did get another super chow, so I should probably like read that really quick. This is from Anonymous for $5, and they say, and Allison, if a button appeared in front of you that would take away the right to vote from women and their abilities to manipulate men's voting decisions, would you press that button? I think that may be the only way for us to prevent our extinction.
No. And the reason why is we've got to learn from this.
Yeah.
We need to overcome the problem that we're facing right now. Women have revealed a lot of themselves and their nature through this entire process. And what we need to do is hold it accountable. You can't just push it under a rug anymore. We have to deal with the world as it is. And if we can't, then we go extinct. Then we are a failed evolutionary dead end. But at some point, we have to hold women accountable, or there is no future. And maybe that means we have no future. But the thing is that if you just get rid of the symptom, it will return. My answer is no. We have to solve this conundrum.
Yeah.
We have to face it and solve it. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to be
What?
Okay, keep going.
All
No,
right.
play
How
more.
the incel community has evolved over time, because I read in your writing that it started relatively harmlessly and then it sort of grew into a much more dangerous community.
That's
All right, I'm gonna pause there. I think she gives a little backstory on the incel thing, but
You started with women.
yeah, and then when it was women, it was okay.
right. So originally in the kind of early 90s, it was a Canadian woman called Alana who started a very small online community for what she described at the time as incels with a V in the middle that's now been dropped. And it was a benign, supportive community for people of any gender who hadn't had luck in finding a
Notice she says any gender, not men.
relationship.
Whenever they say all genders, they're just saying not men, who are men, are fine with being men.
To talk about their experiences, to support each other. It was a small community, and she eventually found a relationship and moved away from that community. And then I think some kind of 20 years later,
Almost like women have a much easier time getting into relationships than men. The woman who started it found a relationship shortly after. Interesting.
she was in a bookstore looking through a magazine when she saw an article about Elliot Rodger, who had committed a massacre in Santa Barbara, California, where he had murdered 6 people and injured another 10 in the name of this so-called incel movement.
Notice she says people, because it was more men that he killed. But that's not important.
And it was a complete shock to her to see what it had morphed into. So the incel movement today would not include women. They would not accept the idea that women could be involuntarily celibate. But more than that, it is not, as it's sometimes portrayed, a supportive, kind online community for lonely men that's been misinterpreted and maligned. It is a community that is violently misogynistic, and it isn't supportive of men. It is, men often egging each other on to kill themselves. So it's kind of bad for everyone now.
All right, that was so going into the bit of backstory with the incels, that's sort of like the next point that she makes. And I guess I'm Allison's muted. I don't know if you're going to say anything, but I'll play the next one after that if you are done. There's only one left. But she's basically setting the stage. So when women are incels, it's harmless, it's benign. They're just, misunderstood. They're body shamed, right? That's where the fat phobia thing comes in, and the body positivity thing. Oh, Lizzo's lonely, not because she's insufferable. It's because she's overweight. And men, they're not lowering their standards enough. If incels were trans, for example, then she would have an outpouring of sympathy because trans women are women, and those trans women should be able to find a man. And if men don't want to have sex with trans women, then they're transphobic. But when
Also
incels
lesbians.
are... Yeah. What? Also lesbians, yes.
Yes, if cis lesbians aren't interested in having sex with trans women, this woman may also regard them as being transphobic.
Oh, of
That's
course
bad.
they are. Of course they are, yeah. But like regular men that are experiencing that, no, not allowed.
That's one of the things that I actually sympathize with the TERFs about. Like, you really shouldn't be forced to find someone sexually attractive. If you don't want to,
Yeah,
you shouldn't. That should not be extorted. And the idea that men should find women they don't find sexually attractive, or they're immoral, I find that reprehensible. But of course, incels. Like, whatever. I mean, that when if what I mean by
that's a Venn diagram with a very small amount of overlap in my book. Yes, I agree with you on that thing, but that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's finish this.
Can you talk a little bit about the scale of the problem and the direction it's been heading? Because I think I'm holding a couple different ideas in my head. You have 2017, it's sort of the Me Too movement, and there's a feeling that maybe things are getting better. And now we're living in you got Andrew Tate and you got Jordan Peterson, and it seems to...
Johnny Depp.
Not important. Not important.
Oh, no, we don't
Andrew
mention...
Tate and Jordan Peterson, basically the same guy. I saw Jordan Peterson smoking a cigar and riding in a Bugatti the other day. And Tate was talking about Jung in front of a giant audience. It's the same thing. Whatever. Oh, are these? You know what? You know what it is? Why I get so upset about this? Because this is why I end up having to defend Tate, and it's not because I like Tate. It's not that. It's because if you participate in this kind of shaming, you are giving these people what they want. I will not do it. And I don't even want to start by saying, oh, I disagree with so and so on these things and I agree with them on these. I'm not even going to do that. That is cowardly apologetics at this point. If men want, if they're looking for help, if they're looking for direction, if they're looking for guidance, if they're looking for purpose because they don't want to hang themselves, because they don't want to jump off a fucking bridge, because they don't want to end up homeless, I don't care where they go. Because nobody in these positions like Laura Bates, positions like the people in our government, like the people in our educational institutions, like the people that run the mental health industry, that run our media, that do none of them are helping these guys. None. And then anywhere they go, they shame those people. So I will defend them on principle, period. I don't care what they're about, because that's where men are going. They need it. You know what? Good for you. Go for it. I don't care. You know.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I'm not playing that game anymore, guys. Don't even ask me to
there is legitimacy.
Condemn so and so, but no, because that's where men are going. So fuck it. Because look, dude, look. Laura Bates and people like her, they're gonna drive multiple people to suicide with this rhetoric. And the shit that they promote, they are evil
God,
people.
I hate that expression on her face.
They are evil, and I say this with full confidence. Okay, that's what it takes to say this shit, and I say this because I know that they know that they're lying, and that they know that this is evil. Because I don't think of myself as a smart guy, really, just kind of average, paying attention, trying to be trying to be in the moment.
And you can see the inconsistencies and the logical problems, and the lack of evidence.
Right, and I know that where I am, telling the truth from this position is not easy to do, and it's not profitable.
Face of a groomer.
I know.
She got right now. She looks like a fucking groomer.
I know. It's not to our benefit to say this stuff, but it has to be said. So this is why I'm sorry, but
no, don't apologize. No, I get it.
I'm saying there are people that are perhaps clueless, they don't know what's going on, right? They think that they can just keep doing the same shit. There are people who are captured by this feminist narrative on the broader scale, and they never looked into it, because just like I did 10 years ago, I was just like that. I was like, well, women, oppressed in history, why not? Sure, I just got the vote. I was just watching TV or this movie or heard this song. You're bombarded by this shit every day, 24 hours a day, so why wouldn't you think that? But now that I know what's going on, it's hard to deal with people who don't know, that's the majority of our population that's captured by this, regardless of what they tell you. And of course that makes me the extremist, because I'm kind of on the outlier. But then what it really puts in perspective is people like this. I know that she is lying on purpose, maliciously. She doesn't care if men get killed. She doesn't care if they're hurt. In fact, if men go out in a blaze of glory, they go and they, do something violent or whatever, they go out because they want to kill themselves, but they want to leave a message behind, right? She's going to use that. Oh, look, here's more proof, right? This is why, again, I've said this before, this is why when there are criminal men running free, doing all kinds of destructive shit because they were abused as kids and they don't know who their father is, and, they're just running around doing whatever, these people won't put them in jail, because those men acting like that, that's good for their message. We're going to take the heroic men that try to stand up to these people. We're going to put them in jail, because now there's fewer of them on the streets, and they're going to be punished for doing the right thing. Right? We're going to reward the people who are doing the wrong thing, and then we're going to turn around and say, you see all these violent crimes? That's men doing that. So we know they're doing this on purpose. This is pure evil. I'm sorry, but it's just not the same. It's just not. So, And
No, what I'm hearing is that Andrew Tate, regardless of what you think about him, is actually stopping some men from committing suicide, from being drawn into the despair. And yes, he's done shady shit, but then so has almost every purveyor on OnlyFans.
Well, yeah, I mean, they try to find stuff. I don't know, because like, you know that Sound of Freedom?
No, I don't want to get into it.
I'm just saying that I'm telling you how the media works. The Sound of Freedom movie came out. The media tried to disregard it. They tried to say it's QAnon, crazy people, conspiracies, etc. And then when that didn't work, because the movie was making a lot of money, I think that they constructed the Barbieheimer meme to like distract, because it was everywhere, and now nobody's talking about Sound of Freedom anymore because they're all looking at these memes and they're going to the theater for that. And then like after that sort of like died out, then there was this story of some guy who they're like, oh yeah, this guy was charged with sex trafficking a woman and he was a donor for the movie. It's like, he was like, if you look into the story, he was protecting a woman who was in a child custody case, and he was giving her a hotel stay with her child. So like not at all what they're implying, but like it's all about, what I'm saying is that it's very easy for the media to take any person or anything that they want to throw shit at and cast into the worst possible light by simply accusing the men or a man of some like bad behavior. And it makes everybody, because men are already in a black category, so it just turns them away. Oh, well, he's one of those men, right? He's one of those men who are also the majority of men. So
okay,
anyway,
all right, okay, I'm going to conclude my statement. There are so few places that men can turn to stop their slide into despair, that to spend time condemning them for all of these problems that other people are saying they have, like Jordan Peterson, Warren Farrell, and Andrew Tate, and I'm not saying that they're all on the equal level, I'm saying that they are providing something for men to stop that descent into despair, okay? And to instead turn and condemn them, rather than condemning these people who are smugly grinning as they promote narratives that psychologically harm men and are not scientifically proven. So there is no validity to this narrative that she is promoting.
Mm-hmm.
And she is promoting it, I think, because she wants to deny the idea that there is anything other than the feminine point of view. This is what I'm getting off of her. Yeah. She doesn't want men to identify as men because she has some kind of animus against the idea that there is a legitimate way of being emotionally, mentally, intellectually that she doesn't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this kind of crawling, smothering, predatory kind of quality to her. And we need to point this out. We need to condemn this. And if Andrew Tate is managing to scoop up some starfish and throw them back into the ocean, maybe we should focus on that rather than on the stupid things he said, because he sounds like a 12-year-old boy sometimes. Okay? You know, and all of the things that other people on OnlyFans also do. You know, and I mean, because he's scooping up starfish and saving them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think Jordan Peterson is scooping up even more starfish and saving them. And Warren Farrell also scooping up starfish and saving them. That's what we should focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Not the fact, not their condemnation. It's like, no, these guys get a pass until you guys shut up and stop trying to genocide the starfish.
Yeah, okay. I mean, they're not stepping up. Like, they have nothing to offer.
They're not stepping up. They're not even they're actually out there making things actively worse for men.
Yes, on purpose too, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, at this point you can't there's no way that it's not on purpose.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
How is it that at this point in time I've noticed, and the way that I progressed along my path is I simply asked questions of feminists. And instead of answers, I got abuse. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And I would just ask more questions. Instead of answers, I got abuse. Instead of answers, I got abuse. And on and on and on and on and on until I realized one day, probably way too late, hey, I don't think you guys have answers.
No, they don't.
All you have is abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You have a conjecture that you say, and then everybody who doesn't pledge allegiance to that conjecture, you abuse until they're silenced, till they go away, or they pledge allegiance to it. And that's all you got. You don't have any rational arguments why I should believe your conjecture. In 20 years, I haven't seen one rational argument that holds water from feminists. And it's because there is none. It is at best, feminism is not a science. Its conjecture is not a scientific fact. It's not proven. It's not even proven to a civil court standard. It's not even a philosophy. It's simply a belief. And if your belief is so demonizing of a group of people based on nothing more than they belong to a biological category or they take an identity from that category, you live in an extremist cult.
Mm-hmm.
The end. QED. And all you have is abuse. And yes, I know that means that we all live in an extremist cult. We live in the South Tower, after the first plane has crashed into the North Tower. And all the feminists are saying, no, don't go down, don't exit. We're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that's a really strained analogy. It will make sense at some point.
I got super chows.
Is there anything further that we need to listen to?
There is a little bit more, but I got super chows I got to read. So, Anonymous gives us $5.
Oh no, I think that I can no longer hear you.
Allison can't.
What is going on?
You got to hang up and come back. Can you guys hear me? You guys should. Yeah, you guys can hear me. Allison, leave and come back.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you now. Right. I'm sorry if I talked over you.
No,
I'm back. Okay, what occasionally Discord demands that I reselect my headphones. Headphones were already selected, but Discord's like, no, we want you to reselect it.
All right.
Okay, so I reselected.
It's fine. Okay. So I got some super chows, all right. Or I got one super chow and one super chat. So I got a super chow from who is that? It's Anonymous again. And Anonymous says, if all incels focused on helping and befriending men, we would be better off. Incels don't actually exist. The term incel is the derogatory way of saying true forced loneliness, which is a red pill / MGTOW term. They don't want someone to work for them as if they love them. They want someone to genuinely love them. Yes, exactly. And I agree. I think that I think the first step for incels healing is to form friendships and community with other men in a healthy environment without women. I think that that's a good place to start from. And once you can because I think that in many cases, I've interviewed a few incels, even a couple of prominent ones. The guy that ran the incel forums, I think it was incel.co or something, and Brandio, who was incel that appeared on a couple of Jubilee videos, was a guest on our show. And basically, yeah, the tendency is that they're not just lonely with the women of the opposite sex, but they also don't have a lot of male friends. And I think that's kind of a problem that's only been made worse by our government's collective reaction to the pandemic, which I can say now because it's been long enough, and I don't think that's helped. So I think that what incels should be doing, or true force men experiencing true force loneliness, or whatever you want to call it, is trying to find friendships with other men. They don't have to be like you in your situation, just like good, principled, honorable dudes, and you will find that it's a lot. You'll be a lot happier. And don't worry about the women like that. They'll come around, and you should be able to have decent standards, not just for her, whoever she might be, but for yourself. So remember, men, you are the gatekeepers to commitment. So thank you for that super chow.
I did want to say something to that.
All right.
there's a lot of stuff that's sitting in the way of men connecting. And in order to get rid of it or to start challenging it and breaking it down, you really have to start challenging and breaking down feminist thought.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate conclusion from feminist thought is a very destructive paranoia between men of their relationships with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. It honestly, like, you can't get anywhere as long as feminists control the center of the chessboard. And I don't mean just feminists. I mean, let's just call it what they are, misandrists, because there's some conservatives who also believe this crap. You know, that men would construct a society at the benefit of men at the expense of women, which I don't understand why conservatives even entertain that, because it's self-destruction. But anyway, as long as they control that, as long as they define the relationship between men and women, the relationship between men and the relationship between women, there's no movement. Like, there's no improvement. So you have to start by kicking out this attitude that men would create a society for their own benefit at the expense of women. And if you have to go through a period of black pill rage where you think that men are oppressed, so be it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I got a super chat from Derek Workman, who gives us $20. Thank you, Derek. And says, could someone do an analysis of the decline of educational standards compared to girls doing better than boys in school? That would be informative on the, quote, feminists don't take anything away from men, end quote. Well, I mean, I've talked about it. Like, we've had, who's the guy that did the, Jonathan Taylor?
How do feminists take away male privilege allegedly without taking away something from men?
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that the U.S. might be considering
She's thinking it's like, you know, it's just like women realizing their true awesomeness.
Or some shit, yeah. I've heard that the U.S. might be considering a draft because of the situation in the Ukraine. I wonder if American men are being signed up against their will to face a power with modern artillery, which I've heard is not at all like the wars that have been fought in the last like 50 years. I wonder how they're going to maintain this belief that society is constructed for the benefit of men at the expense of women.
Yeah.
Because that must be an awful thing to think when you're facing down like a rolling barrage of death that will, you know, if you'll get caught in it, it's basically there's not enough left to you to bury. Like and to know that you're there because you're a man, and society expects you to die to solve its political disputes, but not women. And society is constructed for your benefit at the expense of women. You'd think that a society that was even constructed to benefit men as much as women would rethink the whole, let's kill young men to solve our political disputes. But no.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
All right, there's a little bit more play, and then we're going to stop.
It seems to be getting much worse, and that's just on the surface. And clearly your work has been underneath the surface in these sort of online spaces where it's really this kind of misogyny is running rampant and getting quite dangerous.
Yeah, so these spaces have, of course, predated the kind of mainstream iteration of the Me Too movement. But I think we've certainly seen them kind of swell in recent years. So, for example, UK visits to the biggest incel websites have increased around 5-fold in the last year or so alone. These are now increasingly sized communities. So some of the biggest incel forums, for example, have between 10 and 30,000 registered users, which doesn't include the number of people that are...
Okay, so she's just going on this incel rant. And is there a conclusion?
No, I mean, she's just saying that, you know, it's getting worse. That's basically her conclusion. It's getting worse. More and more men are feeling like they need like a place to go. and they're going to the
And
worst
that's like
place.
the bonus hateful secret of the Manosphere. It's getting bigger. It's
Yeah.
expanding. As
Yeah.
we gain more power and our extremist narrative about how men are secretly demons gains more traction, there are more men fleeing to online spaces to get away from it. I don't understand.
Yeah. How did this happen?
How
Why
did
do men hate us so much? But
Why
yeah,
can't men just accept the fact that we think they aren't human? Why are men upset that we think they're all criminals who, absent the influence of feminism, would rape and beat women, the women in their lives? What are we doing? That's so bad.
Yep.
Oh, good Lord.
It boggles
Good
the
grief.
mind. It activates the almonds.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that this is number 7, isn't it, of the
Yeah.
top
we
top
did
5 hateful secrets of the Manosphere uncovered by
Yeah.
Laura Bates?
Yeah. Well, we covered 9.
9.
Yeah, 9.
Top 9. Okay, I think I got the numbering scheme confused, but you know, honestly,
well, that's
it's an art, not a science, because all of her points sort of smear together
Mm-hmm.
like
That's right.
one long wet streak of shit.
It's all garbage. It's
Yeah.
all the same garbage. So
All the same.
Yep. Might as well
Yeah, it
put
never changes.
Teddy Ruxpin up there and just
You know what's
might as
really
well have asked an AI.
okay? You know what's really aggravating is people like this think it's all like they put the lid on human understanding. That's it.
Yep.
No, we can just stick a fork in it. There's no more gnosis to be had about human existence. The feminists have figured it all out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And unlike all the other times where we figured it all out, they really have figured it all out. God damn. All right. So I just want to remind everyone, if you want to just tell us that you're listening and that we're not just shouting into the void, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you put something through, we get the full benefit of your filthy lucre, and you get the full benefit of being able to confuse us at length. Or enlighten us at length, whichever it is. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can do it at any time after the show, and we will endeavor to read it out on the next relevant show.
All right.
And we appreciate everybody who did put through a super chow today. Very appreciated. Once again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right, so I'm going to be going into a patron show. Meet me in the Nerdcast after show if you guys are part of the Discord. I'm going to be streaming some video games, and we're going to be talking as a part of the patron show content. So please go and join us on the Discord. The Nerdcast is not very like high on the hierarchy scale, so feel free to hang out with us there. And we're gonna go from there. Also, again, I just want to remind everybody, I am back on Twitter, although it's a different account. That is at Badger Arcade. At Badger Arcade. There's a link in the description. If you don't see it, refresh. It should be there. I put it in there at the beginning of the show. Yes?
Would you say that Andrew Tate is S tier Manosphere and we're like K
well,
tier?
I guess it depends. I think if Bates is rating it on misogyny levels,
Misogynoir?
I think we're all S tier. I mean, I don't think it's all the same to her. We're all S tier. I think that maybe this guy that she's talking to is like B tier because he, even though he's agreeing with her in every way, he's still a man, so that puts him.
Yep, he still identifies as a man.
Yeah, he still identifies as a man, so he's still misogynistic.
I'm surprised that Lauren, I'm surprised that Laura doesn't end her interviews with a man and say, "So, have I convinced you to stop identifying as a man yet?"
Yeah.
Jeez, don't you realize that's misogyny? Okay.
And yeah, so subscribe to follow me on Twitter and subscribe to our gaming channel. It's in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for coming on. If you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on today's show, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thanks so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next video. Machines, dude.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.